moved.
You were at this gig?
I was at, that was the 76 one.
Yeah.
That was station to station, yeah.
Yeah. So what are your memories of that?
Fear, because I actually had to lie. I bought the tickets through the Devereux fan club, and they were like, what should they there?
£3.75.
That was probably 375 quid. No, but it was, I had a friend when I was a teenager, and I haven't seen him in many years, Tommy McCann. There's a few people that would know.
Yeah, that's Tommy the bottle of milk.
Correct, yeah. And his dad worked in the B&I ferry, and he would get cheap tickets, boat and train to London. And these are the days you could go over to London and sleep in train stations. And before the IRA bombing happened, so you could actually happily go over to a gig and just say to your man, I'm staying over in Tommy's for the weekend, but you go and see David Bowie and come back.
And what about this image?
Well, that's, I was 16 going into this show, and it was so, you just can't describe what it was like coming from Dublin, where you couldn't even buy proper clothes, like rock and roll clothes. So my ma, who was a dressmaker, she'd take in your jeans, she'd put in patches, she'd make you velvet this, she'd sort of that. But when you go over to London, everything was sort of available, and it's really sad to see the way England has gone. Or I say England, but it really is England. It's got so unfascinating artistically. It was the beacon of all our lives in the 70s. It was the shining star. It's like rock and roll wise and punk wise, it made New York had a patch on it. But you go over there and you see all these people dressed the way you wanted to dress, and with this overt confidence in my mind. And then I walked into this, it was the biggest gig I was ever at. Before that was like Bag of Dins and, UCD shows. And you walk in and it's like 16,000 people that all look amazing. And I heard music I never heard in my life. And I found out later it was Kraftwerk and Neu. So it's like this introduction is electronic music, and I'm serious, like electronics really went off in early 80s, 81, 82. You're hearing like German shit coming at you really strongly. And then this movie came up, which is Un Chien de la Lue, which is a Buñuel and Salvador Dali movie. And the climax is this woman's eye is cut with a blade. And it's all this sort of dumbfounding, exotic madness. And once I say it again, you don't understand it, but you're so attracted to it. Well, not attracted to the eye being slit, but just to the surrealism. And suddenly the word Dada, surrealist, it suddenly started giving me this ammunition to invent my own world, where I go punk, which was far more musical influence on me than Bowie, because punk said, you don't need to go to, you see, when you look at something like Bowie as a kid, it's like you're looking at a university. It's like, how the fuck did you do all that? And simply that, just a guitar and a voice, and then this opera. And you just go, wow, but punk said, fuck this, all you need is a guitar and a lyric and anger. And if you don't know how to play it, so what? So it gave us that license, but then I had all this fuel coming from the stuff Bowie was giving me. And I felt more comfortable with the surrealism and the Dada, because I was going, well, I could do that. And I could do that, and I could do that. And the Virgin Prunes really did go there. And there was something I was telling you earlier, it was like the Project Arts Centre, which was a really incredible place. The Virgin Prunes, by the way, weren't allowed to play most venues because they didn't like the look of us and because you wouldn't know what we would do. So the Project Arts Centre, which was run in the late 60s, 67 to 80, was run by Jim Sheridan. We all know, and he's our big friend now. And you can do what you want to do. You're mad. You're mad, agree. So he'd give you that license. And then when you're in that environment, you're seeing performance artists like Nigel Rolfe and God knows what. So it's this sort of savage university. You're just sniffing it. You're not even reading about it. Because it must be really boring to go to university. To read. Sorry.
It depends on the teacher.
But you're getting this instant hit. But then, I don't think, I think Bowie music and things like this are there for people that want to delve further.
So, okay, so there's lots of that, lots of the stuff from surrealism and Dada that was influential where the Virgin Prunes were concerned. And did the Virgin Prunes take much else from Bowie?
Dresses, makeup, hairdos, a few things.
I get it.
I mean, Googie looks more like a woman than I did. So, and he looks very Bowie-esque in his day. I mean, he's better looking than her actually in his but like that could be Googie. Bowie could be Googie there in the corner. Absolutely.
Okay, so David Bowie, I came across this image, I was very good. David Bowie, drugs, bisexuality and rock and roll.
Hello.
So, was this a ploy, do you think? Was his bisexuality, was it real, imagined, was it a ploy?
I believe it was real, but I think it was a ploy. And you know what, sometimes people find out about themselves. I think there's a lot of drugs involved.
Yeah.
But I think from the age of 18 to probably 38, he'd get up and at it. That's my instinct. I actually get that feeling. I think he swang both ways, but really, I know people that come out when they're 50, 60. I mean, like the Rolling Stones editor, Jan, what's his name? Yeah, well, he came out when he was 60 or something. So, but I don't think it was a ploy. I think he probably was playing with his sexuality, even though he's married. I think he had that, I don't know. I mean, Googie, my good friend, who I grew up with and known since I was 12, he looked more like a woman than anyone. And he's probably the most heterosexual, full-force male I've ever met in my life. I'm serious. So you'd never know. And he still likes putting on a woman's dress. For different reasons. But you talk about the drugs and rock and roll. A very, very interesting documentary, which it's probably one of the great documentaries made about a rock and roll star. Just before, it was almost like David Bowie was going to die.
This is the Yentob.
The Yentob documentary, and everyone should check it out. I think it was made in 1974, 75, when he was doing Diamond Dogs tour. And he just decided he'd turn Diamond Dogs into a soul review, which is bonkers, because Diamond Dogs is basically a proto-punk album. It's sort of invented punk, really. And I'm backtracking here, but when you actually think of that date in 1972, Morrissey had the same effect, Johnny Lydon, Boy George. You could and that's just in music terms in British Isles. But you go to fashion, literature, I mean, Neil Gaiman, it's huge. That sort of finger doing that, I Picked on You, went global. Probably the only 3 other televisual earthquakes was Elvis shaking his hips and the Beatles. And this, seriously, it just televisual performance that went, nothing will be the same. And it was really powerful.
And when he died, I mean, I went to some of the so-called fan shrines. There was a big shrine in Brixton. There was one where he lived in New York, and there were lots of notes and letters and posters of fans left behind. And this was the common thread, right? That Bowie spoke to them, and he said it was okay to be different, it was okay to be queer, it was okay to be whatever you wanted to be. And this was the same theme that was being repeated over and over again. Do you want to play some more music?
I wouldn't say. We'll just end this with the drugs and rock and roll and this Yentov interview. You really should watch it because it's about him turning Diamond Dogs into a soul train. And he's sitting in this big limousine. He must be about 6 stone.
Yeah, if he's that, yeah.
And he's drinking out of this huge, he says, all I eat is milk and ice cream. And you're looking going, what the fuck? And then you see him cutting up his lyrics, which is the introduction to Burroughs. Sure. And you actually don't know. He's absolutely coked out of his face. Like, absolutely coked. It's an extraordinary piece to look back now. And you actually see why Young Americans happened then. You can see his love for, I think it was like blotting paper. Wherever he was, whatever was going off. So you'd see Aretha Franklin, you'd see Rufus, all these bands going off. You go, and it becomes this incredible.
And in a way that never changed, because in the latter years of his life, and he got into techno, he got into drum and bass, he would pop up DJing in places, going to see bands people hadn't heard of yet. So that was always the case, I think.
Well, he's a big geek. I think he's a bit, when you get to know him a bit, he's a bit of a geek. Like he's big Pixies. He's talking about the Pixies before I even knew who they were. And he discovered Arcade Fire, blah, blah, blah. But the thing about him is, what was the stream of thought? Lost the stream of thought there.
Blotting paper.
Blotting paper. Yeah. I'll play this.
Yeah, play something, yeah.
And this came out in Record Store Day. I'm a bit of a geek myself. And it was Welcome to the Blackout, it's called. And the second David Bowie gig I saw was the Heroes Tour, which was called Iceland. And he played in Earl's Court for 2 days. I think I spoke about this before. When I went to this gig, no, actually, it was the other gig. I'm confused. I get back to the first gig, Station to Station. As I said, I was totally smitten with how English people looked, and not like now. I mean, the invention of football mixing in with fucking culture, of fashion and art. It's the fucking end of the world. Tracksuits, and more fucking tracksuits. Over.
You just have to go down Carnaby Street now to see that.
But Carnaby Street, I mean, you have no idea. We all please start dressing better. Seriously, it was horrific with the way the world is now. Like, horrific. Everyone is like, and if it's not Champion, it's Brown Thomas version. But anyway, I remember being in this queue, and I had my trousers and a tank top, and my mum had made me this shirt, and I was out to there, and I had the earring, and I still looked like a spa. I was like, fucking spa, because England was this dapper, cool art. And here was all these Bowie clones, and you actually wonder, said, well, at least I'm not a clone. And then there was a pub at the end of the corner, and I just saw these extraordinary creatures that all looked like sort of Ziggy's sons and daughters, and they all had spiked and hate and love and chains, and I went, what the fuck is that? I want that. And a week later, I bought the NME, it says, New Movement Punk. immediately the hair was cut. Immediately the jeans were skinny. And it was all these, so it wasn't like Bowie got me into punk, but going to Bowie, I got into punk. So it's not like, it's like, you know, when you Google search something, you go bam, 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 you go, oh, that's what Beckett means. Then you go, oh, look at that film. And look at that, and suddenly you're into gardening. It's like, and that's what Bowie did to you. Do you know what I mean?
So it was getting another portal.
Yeah.
So do you want to play something then?
I play, and this is the balls it takes. Yeah. So he had so many hits, and he opens the first 6 songs with instrumentals and songs with low and hero. Just takes such balls. I was in that clap.